Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Career Lab Wednesday. I am your host, George Miller. I am here almost every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. And my job while I'm here with you is to help you develop in your career and help you become who you can become. And your career is a way that you can, it helps you get a lot of focus on that. So there's a few ways that you can join in. I love it, of course, when you jump in here on LinkedIn and ask questions. And there's a Zoom link if you want to join in directly. You can join in and come off camera, come on camera if you want, or you can stay on mute and ask questions into the chat. If you're watching on YouTube or on LinkedIn, go ahead and type your questions into the comment section. I'll do my best to get to your questions that way. So I'll be sharing about some ways that emotional intelligence impacts the workspace, impacts you, impacts your relationships, that kind of thing. But I want to make it clear that any questions that you have, they don't have to be work related. Any questions that you have about your career, you're welcome to ask. So you can do that by typing into the comment section, or you can come in here on Zoom and we can meet directly that way. So just let me know any questions that you have, go ahead and type them into the comment section. So emotional intelligence and how that affects complex problems. So finding solutions, and how does emotional intelligence play into that? So I was at a speaking event this past weekend, and we were looking at how oftentimes we have this belief that if we're going to be really logical about stuff, if we want to problem solve, that we need to get emotions out of the way. So just think about that. That's a pretty common belief, right? Like, oh yeah, don't be so emotional, or oh, they let emotions make the decisions for them, or yeah, they're kind of untrustworthy because they're too emotional. Well, the research on this shows that actually, if we don't have access to our emotions, we don't even make decisions. So there's a famous study about people with a tumor on the emotional center of their brain. And when asked to pick between a blue and a black pen before, to take a long test, it took them 5 to 6 hours to pick a blue or a black pen. So if you don't have access to your emotional center, you don't make decisions. So there's not even a question of logic here. Like, you don't get to be logical without emotions. So the whole idea that emotions are irrational is false. It doesn't make any sense. Emotions are an immense amount of data about our environment, about our past, about who we are. And they help us make split-second decisions. And so if I want to change how I make decisions, I actually need to understand my emotions better. If I want to be more effective in communication, if I want to be more effective just in getting stuff done around the house, it's going to serve me to be more in touch with my core emotions. Because when I'm trying to avoid what I'm feeling, and I'm telling myself that there's something wrong with my feelings, or don't be so upset. Well, right there, I am now making it harder for me to think. I am making it harder for me to come up with creative solutions to things. So, when we look at finding effective solutions, especially in a team environment, you can see, if you let yourself think about it a little bit, how ineffective it's going to be to disregard people's feelings and say, oh, you know what, get over it. This is how it's going to be. There might be some times where that's what needs to happen, but sometimes is a far cry from how much it's going to be better to pay attention to what everybody's feeling. Because when you don't, resentments will build. And there's reasons for those feelings that people have. If you're implementing something new, probably going to be a lot of fear from the team. And that fear is good. That fear can guide to how they're going to implement something successfully. And then there's probably issues that not everybody's going to be able to see up front. And some people who have concerns about that stuff, well, then they're going to bring that to the surface. And if I'm just saying, nope, just don't be upset about it. This is just how we're going to do it. I'm missing out on a lot of what could be happening, missing out on a lot of valuable information. So nothing is 100% in this arena of paying attention to emotions. There are times where you've got to drive forward and say, you know what, we'll sort some of this stuff out later. Totally. But even in just acknowledging that, saying, I get there's a lot of feelings about this. Totally. There's value to that. And we need to make this happen by this point in time, and we can sort some of that stuff out later. Even that is going to be acknowledging other people and acknowledging the value of feelings, and people will feel more seen and understood, and not just disregarded. So that's a little bit about today's topic of the role that emotional intelligence has in finding effective solutions, or we could say creating effective solutions. And that acknowledging my feelings is going to actually have me thinking clearer. Is when I'm not acknowledging what I'm feeling, then I'm defending against feeling it, and I'm suppressing how I'm using the information around me. So that's my rant for today. I want to check in with anybody who's on YouTube or on LinkedIn Live and see if you have any questions. Any questions about a challenge that you have at work, a challenge that you have in the job hiring process. So any questions that you have. If you have questions about emotional intelligence and the role that this plays in you getting the things done that you want to get done, let me know. You can type your questions into the comments section, and I will do my best to communicate with you that way. So let me know. Go ahead and type your questions into the comments section, and I will see if I can support you in this. Okay, so what do I do when I've got an employee who does not follow instructions? Cool. So so I'm assuming that when that happens, you're feeling angry, or at least irritated, and maybe a little scared, because it's like I need them to be doing something and they're not doing it. Let me know, does that work? Okay. Yeah, and as I'm doing this, keep typing in and letting me know when I'm on point and when I'm off point. Like if what I'm talking about and addressing with you isn't helping you with your question, let me know, and I'll try to get on track with your concerns. Okay, so you've got an employee and you're feeling afraid and irritated that they're not doing what you're asking them to do. So now, some questions for you is, have you given them a clear description of what they need to do? Did and did you ask them to share back with you what your expectation is so that you know that they understand what the task is? Because we can often catch this kind of thing right early on. A lot of times, I think that I'm communicating something clearly that I expect, and I if somebody has a similar personality style as I do, they may get it right away and be like, "Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean," and they can see it through. However, there's a lot of people that that learn and hear differently than I do. So even though I might think I'm being clear, it might not be translating for them. And yes, it's part of their job to figure out how to translate and how to, get what I ask done. But if I really want it done and they're not doing it, I can look at, wait a minute, what's not working here? What could I do differently that's going to help them understand my instructions better? So it can be useful for you to look at ways that you might not be communicating as well as you could with them. And you could even have a conversation with them about it. And that could look like, let's just say their name is um, uh, Josephine. Josephine, you know, I asked for this and I didn't get what I thought I was asking for. Help me understand what's going on. And then they might say, "Oh, well, you said this, and this." And, you know, as I was trying to retrieve that, I ran into this block. And so I just thought, wait, well, let me just get you something. And so I sent this over and I didn't necessarily explain all of that. Okay, so Josephine, got it. I like that you moved on that, but for this kind of thing, you absolutely have to have all these pieces in line before you're going to send it back to me. And if you need me to help with this process, then I need to know as soon as you can let me know. And so you start opening up the conversation and exploring more. And so I often find that when I'm kind of stressed about stuff, that I'm feeling afraid. And so I'll just start giving more instructions without understanding if the person I'm talking to is really hearing and digesting those instructions. So it ends up taking a longer amount of time. So it's like I have this self-fulfilling prophecy of like, oh, I don't have enough time. I just need to communicate this and then move on to the next thing. And then it's like, well, nothing actually got resolved there. So this is a way then that if I'm trying to avoid feeling fear and just move on to the next thing, oh no, yeah, I don't want to do this. That's an issue. This is where emotional intelligence becomes so important because if I allow myself to be with the fear in that moment as I'm talking to my employee, and I'm like, oh wait, I'm feeling afraid that this communication isn't really landing, that they're not understanding what I'm saying, and let me be present with this fear in this moment. I'll pay that price now of the discomfort of being with my anxiety as I'm talking to somebody. I'm going to pay that price now because in the long run, it's going to save me a lot of time. It's going to help them do their job better. It's going to help me understand them better. It's going to help the communication overall. But I have to be willing to be present with my own fears and discomforts in this moment. And I might, as somebody that spent a lot of years being a people pleaser and not wanting to upset anybody, I ultimately ended up upsetting a lot more people because I didn't communicate as clearly. So it is this way of me thinking, oh, I need to make this person happy, or I'm just going to tell them the next thing. I'm going to tell them how, like, okay, this is how you do it, da da da. And I'm in that space and I'm avoiding my own discomfort. Well, it's a myth. I'm not actually pleasing them. I'm just avoiding my own discomfort. I'm just avoiding my own fear. And so this idea of a people pleaser starts to evaporate as I realize, oh, I was attempting maybe to please myself and I wasn't even doing it that well. So, oh, okay, I'm going to be present with more of my upset, more of my discomfort in this moment, use my fears to give me valuable information about the conversation I'm having with my employee. And I'm going to notice if I feel afraid that they're not understanding what we're talking about, I'll say, wait, I'm concerned that what I just shared, that I don't know that you really understood that. And then the anxiety goes back to them and they're like, okay, well, here, this is what I understand. And here's what I don't understand. And this is what I do, and this is what I don't. And so, right there, you're using your emotions as a way to make contact with another human being. And that is an effective way to be present with what you're feeling, to use what you're feeling to create solutions to help you be more effective. So I hope that got it. So yes. So you're seeing a way that you could communicate with your employee that you haven't before. So try that out. Let me know how it goes. But it looks like you're seeing that there's some possibilities there, that there's ways that you can communicate and ask questions actually. You can be asking some questions that will help you understand where your employee is at. And they might also find that empowering. Okay. Well, we're coming up on halfway through, and I want to see if there's any more questions coming in. Let me know if there's anything on your heart. It doesn't have to be around emotional intelligence. You could have a question about your resume, interviewing, speaking. Um, I'm doing more public speaking coaching as I'm doing more public speaking myself. So anything about that, even just speaking up in meetings, any questions that you have about that. Okay. Well, as we're coming up on halfway here, I think I'll give it a couple minute here, but oh, let me see. We're getting some more questions here. Um, a part of tech layoffs and hoping to begin a career outside of sales. Enjoy working with people and leveraging technology. Team oriented and enjoy working to solve problems and provide solutions to everyday problems. So, are you saying that you don't want I'm hoping to begin a career outside of sales. Let me know if that's accurate, that you're trying to you want to get into something that's not a sales. And I'm assuming that you were in um, tech sales. Let me know if that's accurate. Were you in tech sales? Okay. So, because if you're wanting to get out of sales, my first response is, why would you want to get out of sales? You like working with people and leveraging technology. You're team oriented, working to solve problems. So it sounds like you would actually be good in sales, in developing relationships with clients and helping them resolve tech issues. And so that's going to there's a sales element to that. So let me know if I'm reading your question correctly about sales. Because if you want to get out of sales, I don't know that that's a great strategy. You might just want to refine the type of sales that you're doing. Maybe more account management, if you really like the relationship side of things. So let me know about that. You're part of the tech layoffs. I'm going to assume that you were part of tech layoffs and that you want to get into sales, which I think would be that's a powerful move because you've got familiarity with tech and you see a need for companies to implement tech. So um, what I would do is start looking at the companies you'd like to work with. What are some sales companies, some tech companies that need um, help with their sales team? And start networking with them, finding out what it's like working there, finding out what their issues are, and seeing how you would be able to contribute to that. There's one client I worked with for years, and they what they did at first, they were on the back end of things, and they found they were always putting out fires. So like the companies wouldn't update their tech fast enough. They wouldn't update stuff until it was a serious problem and they were losing lots of money. And then he'd go in and he'd kind of rescue them, and he'd be up late into the night and helping them with stuff, and it was always kind of a disaster zone. And he was good at it, so he was had a secure, you know, he was secure in his job, but there wasn't really ways for him to grow. But he didn't see himself as a salesperson. He saw himself as a computer nerd. And so he it took us a few months, but he started to see that, you know what, even though I'm an introvert, I do like people. I genuinely like people and I like helping people. And I'm getting really sick of not being able to help people more effectively. It's like I'm there's always kind of this I get to be a hero, but um I'm not really making the kind of difference I want. And so, as he learned more EQ skills and how to be present with his discomfort while speaking, eventually he took a sales job and he moved in. He's killing it now too, by the way. So, because he's got the know-how with the tech, so he can build that rapport with the tech people on the companies that he's going into, so they know he knows what he's talking about, and then he can help them see the dangers coming down the road as things are changing quickly. And so he's actually able to develop a lot of trust and rapport early on. And so what I think you could be looking at it, oh, I see you're typing in some stuff here. So what I want you to do is look at um, your skills and where you're uncomfortable developing more stuff. But if you can make this value judgment that I like people, I want to work with more people, I want to serve more people, well, sales might be a good move for you. So let me see. I want something that's more hands-on with technology, but still allows me to work closely with people. I'm just not sure which direction to go. So more hands-on with technology, but still, okay, so it sounds like you're wanting to go more into development. And maybe if you have sales, so now we're going to switch over. We're going to go from tech and now somebody who is in tech and going to client facing stuff. We're going to switch from somebody who's been more in the sales area, but now wants to get more into developing technology. So I would see your role, since you already have experience with sales, is you might be the person that goes and works with clients in terms of what are their needs, and then helping a tech team understand what their needs are. So you being a bit of a liaison, um, a a translator, and that can be incredibly important. So there's a client that I asked them, "What do you do?" Like they work with a very large bank, and I was like, "What is it that you really do?" And they're like, "Honestly, I translate for people. We've got all these different departments, and they think they know what the other team is saying, but at this point in my career, I'm in touch with my feelings and aware that a lot of the times what people think they understand, they really don't. So I just ask a lot of questions and I help kind of tease out the ways that people don't understand things. And then I'm able to make these connections happen between the different departments so that they actually understand each other and can actually get the job done. So, as you're looking at moving into something where you're making stuff but working closely with people, and you have sales experience, that might be what you want to move into more of. Is essentially helping people understand what's needed and from the clients, and helping the team you're working with understand that. Now, let me know if that's kind of on point. So, if you're, um, oh, you want to make sure you're not making the wrong move after layoffs. Have you already been laid off? It, I don't know that there's much of a wrong move you need to worry about if the layoffs are happening. You know what? I'm going to say too, if you should probably set up a time to talk with me one to one, because I get that being live, you might not want to talk about it here on online while we're live, but set up a 15-minute call with me. We'll spend 15, 20 minutes together. I might be able to just help you get some clarity um, around this situation right now there. So go ahead and set that up with me. And for anybody listening in, um, you're welcome to do that. I'm happy to talk with you to help move you forward with the challenge that you've got. Um, and we can look at a coaching relationship. If I can help you with what you got going on, great. And if it's more complex, we'll talk about what a coaching relationship could look like. Um, and then I do have other resources as well. I've got a career course that is helps with a mindset shift, as well as common sense strategy is stuff that you need to do when you're in a career transition. But it brings in an emotional intelligence component that is helpful. So you can take a look at that as well. So when looking at decisions, we can tie this into the topic of emotional intelligence today. So you want to be paying attention to what your fears are. So you've got a round of layoffs going on, and I suspect that you're feeling afraid and perhaps hurt about some things and maybe angry that this is happening. And so we want to look at what are the fears. If you're afraid that you're going to lose your job, then we can look at, okay, what's valid about those fears? Where are you in a group of people um, that the company essentially doesn't need anymore, or is deciding that they're going to let go because um, they are making cuts in their budget? Is that what's going on? And if so, like, is there anything that you can do about it? And if not, then using that fear to connect as quickly as you can to more people and start networking and looking at other roles that you're interested in with other companies, and then you use that fear to drive you towards um, the things that you want, which in this case I think it's a job. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So it looks like that's helpful. Okay, good, good, good to hear. So, yeah, let me know what other questions you have around transitions in your career, decisions that you're making. Um, Let me know if you've got any questions about interviewing, any questions with the spot where you're currently working, any challenges in terms of communication issues as you're talking with supervisor or with your team. Feel free to come on Zoom, or you can type your questions into the comment section and I will do my best to answer your questions that way. Got it. I'm looking forward to talking. So I'll give this another couple moments to see if anybody else has any questions before we wrap up today. Let me know if there's any more questions that you have. You know, just a general thing in career development is it's you want to have a plan, uh, is as you're deciding what industry you're going into, what kind of promotions you can get, how you can be developing as a leader. All of that's important. Yet sometimes people overthink stuff and try to map out an exact plan and miss out on interactions that they could be having on a day-to-day basis. And so, things change so quickly that having a long-term plan when you're, especially when you're younger, it's not like, I think of it like a rough draft. Like you have a template of where you're going, but things are going to change. And you're going to learn more about yourself in the process. And as you develop relationships with people, those relationships are the really important thing because they know you, they know what you can do, they know you're trustworthy. And so you want to get to the point where in your career, you've got lots of ways you could go. You've got people who would want to hire you, and there's kind of a confidence that you can have in yourself that you deliver, you're good on a team. And now it's a matter of, well, where do you want to work? What's the area that's going to help you develop? I think sometimes people make the mistake of trying to have their career path 100% when that's just not the reality. That the world's always changing, and what you think you want right now is probably going to change in 5 to 10 years. And so, look at the things that are really core to you, what your values are. So when you're saying you like working with people, great. That's something. What about working with people do you like? That's a big part of how I got into doing this thing as a coach. I love one-to-one and group coaching sessions. And I started to find this when I was an artist. I would work on some projects with people, and I found that the things that I really liked about that. And then I really got into it as a musician. I enjoy oftentimes band rehearsal more than the performance itself. I'm learning to enjoy the performances more, but as in a band, it's like, oh wow, like who's this person that I'm interacting with and what's possible? What are they going to create? Like who are they becoming in this moment as they're like working with these sounds and doing this thing, that creative process with people. I love. And then I get to do that with people in their lives about who they're becoming. Like, oh my gosh, what's emerging in my client? Oh my gosh, they're having insights about themselves that they didn't have before. And while they're having insights about themselves, I'm having insights about myself, and possibilities are starting to open up. And now we're going to look at, okay, what are the new behaviors that you need to do and that are going to be a little outside of your comfort zone? What are these new behaviors that you're doing so that you're becoming more of who you want to be? You're becoming a more effective leader. Oh my goodness. And so it's this creative space that I go to with people in coaching sessions, one on one, and in group environments that I just love. So, that thing about working with people, that's always going to be something that I'm doing, even if like life coaching and leadership coaching does not exist in 10 years, and whatever we've got going then is a completely different model. I'll know, okay, working with people, coming up with creative solutions and seeing people develop, well, that is something I really like. Seeing people develop while I'm developing myself, I really, really like that. So that's always going to be kind of a guiding light for me in my career development. And so I don't have to know a specific path because I know that I'm always developing these skills that are really important to me. I hope that's helpful for people listening in as you're looking at your career path. What are the parts of you that you really want to develop? Okay. I hope that's helpful. I'm going to be signing off here unless anybody else has any other questions. You can always sign up for a one-to-one meeting with me, and you can always find me on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn, of course. And many blessings, everybody. I will be back next week. I'm here almost every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. Central. All right, blessings, everybody. Take care.